Namaste, yogis. My name is Selena Garifino, and these talks are here to support you in your practice, to help you understand a little more of the philosophy and theory behind the yoga tradition so you can better understand what it is that you're doing every time you come to your mat. Today I want to talk to you about what teachers are talking about when we say that we want to get you into your higher mind and out of your lower mind. Now, there's a lot of philosophical things that we could talk about, the cosmology of the universe, fancy Sanskrit words for the parts of the mind, and some of this esoteric thing that we are trying to do in practice. But I think it's more useful to get really pragmatic and dish it out in English today and have some really simple practical tools for how we approach practice. So here's the deal. Approximately 50 to 75,000 years ago, human beings acquired language, and that was the last evolutionary step for Homo sapiens. What this means for you, my dear yogini or yogi friend, is that you, sir or madam, or whatever you are a cave person with a very fancy Lycra sports top on. Let that sink in for a minute, because it's best if we have a sense of humor about these things. What this means practically is that you have something called a limbic brain or a lizard brain. It's your reptilian brain, your animal-based nature that's super reactive. It's the part of you that gets gleeful, which is that like kind of creepy kind of excitement. It's the part of you that gets unhealthy competition. It's the part of you that has a flood of hormones, aka a spike in chemistry, and gets really reactive to things. It's the part of you that also protects you when there's danger. It's your fight or flight response. Now, you also have within you, as a fully evolved human being, something called a prefrontal cortex, which fully develops after age 25, usually closer to age 30. And your prefrontal cortex is your higher executive functioning. And this part of you, my friends, is your higher mind. It's the part of you that is conscious, that gets to make choices, and don't worry, if you're under 25, you still have one. It's the part of you that gets to choose a graceful, loving response even when there's tension, and can choose the way in which you respond to your circumstances and life events. So that's the part of your brain that we're trying to get you into in a yoga practice. Now, I have some really good news. The fabulous news about all this is that you have a tool at your disposal that can in any given moment put you back into that part of your brain, even when there's already been a spike in chemistry and a big rush of hormones. And that tool is your breath. Breath and consciousness are two sides of the same coin. Your breath will always reflect what's going on in your subconscious mind. It reflects when you're excited, when you're afraid, when you're in love. All of these things are reflected in the breath. And likewise, what that means is that we can take the breath, manipulate it, and actually take the attention of the mind and quiet the mind. And when we do this, when we do things like Ujjayi breathe, so-called diaphragmatic breaths, belly breathing, we actually turn on our parasympathetic nervous system, which is your rest and digest. And when that happens, we get to ease right back into our highest selves with such a simple tool. Now, part of the problem is that most of us, and it's very common these days, our nervous systems are super damaged. So many things are pulling our attention. There's so much stress in our lives. And what happens is people actually start to have a hard time switching back and forth between their sympathetic, their fight or flight response, and their parasympathetic response. And to heal the nervous system is going to require practices like breathing, yoga nidra, meditation, beyond just the stuff that we do when we're sweating it out on our mat. And in fact, if you are experiencing a lot of emotional intensity in your life, going and doing these intense fiery practices that actually build fire in your system can in fact really stress that nervous system out even more. So as much as I love my sweaty flows, in those tough times, the best thing you can do is slow everything all the way down and tap back into your breath practices. So really simply, even just your basic Ujjayi pranayama, that little constriction at the back of the throat or the glottis, and breathing with big expansive movement in the belly can calm you down so quickly and bring you home to your heart and to yourself. when you're about to have a tough conversation, when something happens that you feel that rush of chemicals, I would challenge you to practice the pause. And what I mean by that is don't speak. Drop your chin slightly towards your chest and breathe. And you will feel those chemicals, those hormones still. Because here's the deal, your limbic brain is going to rush those chemicals in your system at least 30 seconds before your higher mind can kick on. Always. You can't get rid of your limbic brain. And that's a good thing, because in times of danger, in moments when you need that fight or flight response to kick on, it's going to save your life. And we need stress, you guys. We need that element of stress to move us forward and to grow in life. But we don't want it ruling us. So I would challenge you this week to, when you feel intensity come on, building in your chest, building in your throat, that you would pause and breathe. It only takes one deep breath to come back to your highest self. And that, kids, friends, is what we're talking about when we talk about being in your higher mind. In another video, I would love to go into the parts of the mind in the yoga tradition and where yoga wants to say these parts of the mind devolved from and how that plays out in our practices on the mat. But for today, keep it simple and start to get intimate with your breath. Thanks for dropping in. I hope this was educational. Please drop questions in the comments, and I would suggest you go take 5 minutes right now to breathe.